Assalamualaikum, my name is Faridahana binti Abdul Hamid. My metric number is 261943. I will start presenting by explaining the executive summary. Orang asli are conceptually classified as Bumi Putras, a status that signifies racial identity to Malaysia and confers certain economic, social and political rights, but this status is not explicitly specified in the constitution. So, this report aims to discuss the ethical issue faced by Orang Asli in Malaysia. We can find two main issues in this report, which is the discrimination and the abuse of power. In this report, we can see from 5 different perspectives, which is the ethical awareness, stakeholder awareness, ethical reasoning, ethical suggestion, and ethical decision making. Next, I will move on to the case summary. Indigenous people, also known as Orang Asli, lives in various parts of the world, each with their own traditions and languages. Despite this, they face the fate of discrimination in their citizenship, the loss of land rights, and being viewed as a second-class people. For example, police arresting Orang Asli on charges of intruding on government land is very common in Malaysia. On December 17, 2012, police arrested 2 Orang Asli from Kampung Tanam, Rompin, Pahang on charges of harassing a contractor who was clearing the land for government project when the land was actually part of the Orang Asli customary land of Kampung Tanam that had been worked with various plants.
My name is Anissa Rehana binti Kamsul. My metric number is 261889. So for the next part is discussion. Okay, there are 2 ethical awareness that can be seen from the ancestral land issues in Malaysia. The first one is discrimination. Discrimination is a bias, one-sided or harmful treatment toward people or a group that is based from race, gender, ethnicity, age, as well as the sexual orientation. According to the Aboriginal People Act 1954, any compensation pursuant to this section shall be above the decision of the authority to decide on the amount of compensation to be paid to the Orang Asli, as there is no guidelines to fix it. Many of Orang Asli village were destroyed in order for project development to take place, like the Kuala Lumpur International Airport KLIA, to develop the highways, the universities, the dam, and also some private development. According to the Aboriginal People Act 1954, the compensation given to the Orang Asli only consists of the loss of trees, building, or any activities on the land. But unfortunately, the amount that they have paid for the Orang Asli is too small compared to what they have lost. Besides that, a church built by Orang Asli was demolished in 2017 in Gua Musang by the government, as they said that the construction is not approved by the state authorities. And the next one is the abuse of power. Abuse of power is a misuse of power by someone from high position to take unfair advantage to others. According to Aboriginal People Act 1954, it stated that Orang Asli reserve a land according to the state authorities. However, Section 64 under National Land Code 1965 allows a cancellation towards the reserved land for the Orang Asli. Therefore, there is no definite legal right for the land. Due to that, Orang Asli is often accused as an intruders for government land, even though they have lived in that area for a very long time. Besides that, government always calls on decision on the behalf of Orang Asli without discussing with them, and all of the effort to challenge the government decision will be regarded. Another example of the power abuse against the Orang Asli can be seen from the durian plantation in Raup. It was made with the permission of the state government, and Pahang Forestry Department has threatened the life of Orang Asli.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Siti Khadijah binti Mama Ahir. My metric number is 261348, and I will continue for the part of awareness of stakeholders. In government as the most important stakeholders that affect the Orang Asli ancestral land in Malaysia. This is because due to the rapid development of Malaysia have left indigenous tribe increasingly, and they become one of the most vulnerable community in Malaysia. Currently, most of the forests that they stay and depend on are owned by Malaysian government. Only few areas that recognized as ancestral forests left that belong to the indigenous tribes. For example, to build up the industrial and residential area, business complex and others. This influence majority of the orang asli that live in the forest and use the forest product and service in some degrees. They depend on the forest for large part of their income. Despite for the economic significance, forests are also culturally attachment. Some of the communities also require the forest resource to maintain the cultural tradition. Next is communities. Communities as the main stakeholders that being affected in this issue. The indigenous communities, especially the orang asli, being affected by the Malaysian government action that doing the forest clearing activity by the Malaysia. This is caused between the Malaysian government and the indigenous tribe. The Malaysian indigenous tribe are fighting for their ancestral land and tried the modern claim to tend to land which their people have lived and for decades and centuries. We can see in Perak, the Temia tribe are fighting for their right over over 12,465 hectares, which they claim as central forest. Some of the Temia tribe thus blockade as a way to prevent the logging company to easily access into the forest. According to Nicholas, the Center for Orang Asli's Concern, COAC, there is no law forbidding Orang Asli to move around freely and start new settlement, but government is expecting them to live in the land that was gazetted for them. The next is media social. Social media also involved as a stakeholder in this issue. All the information on the indigenous tribe are exposed usually based on the news and image that have been constructed by the media. Media has the capability to influence and affect the people perception of indigenous tribe as negative, portray usually towards the negative action, while positive portrayal usually linked with the positive attitude. The Temia, for example, the Temia have documented their struggle to keep the loggers out. Some of them were arrested by the police for wrongful restraint, which they say they filmed daily on the blockade using the SLR camera. Then the local police arrest them, took the camera, memory card and phone, even though they had evidence of everything that happened when the loggers tore down the blockade and also image of the people who did it.
My name is Ni Muhammad Ain bin Musa. My matrix number is 2649886. Today I will discuss about the ethical reasoning that we may see to make its strongest ethical argument that is going on in the indigenous customary land in Peninsula Malaysia, which are the principle of right and responsibility as well as freedom of action. Alright, now we proceed to the first theory in ethical reasoning, which is the theory of right and responsibility. As we know, the primary aim of the right is to encourage stakeholders to freely choose whether or not to follow those wishes or action, and to protect those choice, while obligation are duties or things that we should do. We can see the discrimination against orang asli land right in Peninsula Malaysia, where their village are demolished for projects construction, and there is discrimination of right such as like land grabbing, cultural rejection, and then as well as physical harassment and being treated as a second class citizen. Okay, we also know the issue of orang asli land right in Malaysia is not a recent and still ongoing problem. This is because orang asli being marginalized due to a lack of information about their right and entitlements, as well as lack of proof of their property and their status as outsider from their own heritage land. And then this action is unwarranted because this issue of discrimination can be resolved through a negotiation between stakeholder and orang asli, because orang asli who have right and responsibility over their land and whose land acquisition has negatively impacted them, like such as causing deterioration of water quality and destruction of hunting areas caused by logging and plantation activity. Now we proceed to the second ethical reasoning, which is freedom of action, meaning that the government has freedom of action to protect the ancestral land of the orang asli people who have been threatened by irresponsible party to make a profit for themselves, because the indigenous people are entitled to customary land, including the right to move freely on their land without any form of intervention, and also to live from the produce of the land itself, because they have the right to make their own decision, such as the political status of their country and the direction of their economic, social and cultural progress. These clauses show that indigenous people are granted the same freedom as other citizens, because they have the right to citizenship, which is enshrined in Article 6 of the UNDRIP, which state that all indigenous people has the right to citizenship. As a result, orang asli have the right to decide and implement goals and strategies for the production of their land and resources. The government also should recognize the custom, tradition and land ownership system of the orang asli, because they also have the right to their land. Not only that, the authorities need to be aware of the spiritual connection between the orang asli and their land, rather than exploiting the land.
My name is Asli binti Jamaluddin. My matrix number is 262946. Today I would like to present my part, which is 3.4 ethical suggestion. Ethical suggestion can be interpreted as how we might bring amendments and recommendation on ethical issues or dilemma in order to improve our understanding, and numerous suggestions must be implemented immediately in order to resolve this problem more seriously about the orang asli ancestral land issues. The first suggestion is that everyone should respect each other's rights. That was because how far our life go is largely determined by how much we love ourselves as well as others. Commit the same expectation to others as we do to ourselves when interacting with them. We must behave in a consistent manner. Aside from that, orang asli must speak out in support of the next ethical suggestion. If we know something is wrong, it might be essential to be courageous and speak up in terms of fixing conflicts and ethical dilemma, while staying true to our own personal belief. If we feel there is a need to speak up, we have several other choices. We should consult for someone who knows something about the situation to ensure that our interests are not easily overtaken by those looking to earn a profit. We may also enlist the help of our personal network for advice and assistance in determining the best course of action in the context of our problem. Then, in the ethical suggestion to handle the problem of orang asli in ancestral land matters, it is essential to make things better. That was because by engaging in good conduct, we strengthen our life conditions, not from a wealth or achievement standpoint. Making things better entails living a moral existence, pursuing peace in our life, and not hurting others. As a result, we recognize the importance of allowing orang asli to remain calm in their own territory. And finally, view the implication of your decision as an ethical suggestion. Our actions have an effect on others. It is important to remember that the ends don't always justify the means. It is just as important to figure out how to get to our target as it is to get there. If only if weren't so, we may justify exploiting others in the name of accomplishing a goal. As we know, as a result of their encroachment in the state of Kelantan, the bamboo trees that grew on their land were destroyed.
My name is Fadrati Shahira binti Burhanuddin. My matrix numbers is 261678. I will continue 3.5 Ethical Decision Making. First issue is discrimination towards orang asli. Discrimination towards orang asli community is not a new thing. Orang asli community went through oppression because of their lack of knowledge towards their rights and position. Orang asli do not have any proof towards their real estate and are always considered as outsider in their own land. This report was made due to discrimination at responsible parties towards orang asli. In this case, has gone beyond the right of orang asli. Overcoming this problem, Sohakam was established by Parliament under the Atas Suruhanjaya Hak Asasi Manusia Malaysia 1999. Sohakam functioned to investigate complaints relating to human rights violations subject to conditions imposed in Section 12 of Malaya Human Rights Commission Act 1999. This body needs to be strengthened so that it can act against those who violate the orang asli rights without having to rely on government agencies. This problem can be solved through education. In this way, the culture and identity of the indigenous people can be appreciated. Issue is power abuse. The orang asli way of life is inextricably tied to their traditional lands, and deforestation is direct threat to their survival. As a result of rampant deforestation, their livelihood have already been harmed, their water sources have been polluted, and wild animals have been forced into their village. As a result, even though orang asli have lived in the region for a long time, they are often suspected of being intruders on government property. In this case, the Orang Asli Act 1955 was introduced on 25 February 1954 as a guideline in determining government policies in the administration of Orang Asli Circle. The Minister may design any area occupied by Orang Asli as an Orang Asli area or Orang Asli reserve by publishing a notification in the Gazette under Act 134. However, this Act does not recognize Orang Asli as a legitimate, rightful owners of Orang Asli lands of reserve, nor does it require Orang Asli to claim compensation for the forced acquisition of Orang Asli lands of or reserve. This is because Section 12 states that government may compensate the Orang Asli if a piece of land is taken from an Orang Asli region or reserve, and Section 11 states that reimbursement is only paid for fruit trees and rubber trees. example, by acting against the Orang Asli activists, the Kelantan Forestry Department, in collaboration with unscrupulous logging companies, has seriously overstepped its authority.
Now I will continue with the conclusion of this report. Malaysian government's attempt to secure Orang Asli's rights to their land must be stepped up. Orang Asli rights and lands are required to be protected by the safeguards given explicitly for them. The key to a new land policy regarding Orang Asli land ownership is to create a win-win situation and to think outside the box. Any area exclusively populated by Orang Asli and where they are likely to live permanently is a zone to be designated as an aboriginal reservation and should be gazetted by the government. Now, the ethical lesson that can be learned from this report is that Orang Asli face discrimination as they have no registerable title to the customary lands. We should not discriminate any people or groups based on their characteristics such as race. In Malaysia, every community deserves to be treated fairly and protected under national constitution. The government or any other organisation should not clear the forest solely for the purpose of development, but instead appreciate the natural